Yo, what's going on? Hey, I'm Marcus, the debt free dad, where we talk finance and attorney reactions to current trending events. I wanted to jump on here real quick because this isn't really none of my live streams are really structured, but I wanted to tell y'all a little bit about what's going on. Because I think oftentimes the hardest thing sometimes the tough thing to communicate people don't want to do even if someone needs to hear it. So I want to tell y'all a little bit about this situation where me personally, I think that I'm doing the right thing by trying to prevent a very young person from making a grave financial mistake. And if you can tell by the thumbnail, of course, it's related to college, student loans, and money. So stay tuned. Let's dive in and talk about it. As always, I got to toss out a disclaimer. Even though this isn't necessarily an advice informative situation, just to keep the folks at the Bar Association happy, I'm a licensed attorney in multiple jurisdictions, but none of those jurisdictions amount to me being your counselor at law. So counselor of law. So if if you are looking for an attorney or someone seeking financial advice, always find a professional in your area, someone who has a fiduciary obligation to make sure they act in your best interest. And if they don't, you have some recourse. Don't listen to a talking head on YouTube, even if it's me. Even if it's me, don't listen to me. You should never listen to nobody with this background setting that I got on. But but we're gonna definitely talk about it. So let me give a little bit of the background of what's going on in this situation and and why I think it's the right thing to do. Okay. I have a young family member who is extremely smart. Like I've worked at group homes. I've worked with children. Hell, I got children. But this young person in my family is probably I mean, she's clearly the most intelligent young person in the family. I would actually go on the record to say that she's probably more intelligent than me. Like like far as actual aptitude, ability, like, I mean, just sharp. I'm very impressed, and I don't impress easy. So if I'm impressed, that's a big deal. So I have this high speed young family member who was so talented and gifted. They didn't even go to like a local school. They went somewhere like where there's a highly coveted high school in the nation, like a great high school, one of the top programs in the nation for high school, just off of their intellectual prowess alone. Not sports, not running, playing track, just off her intellectual prowess. So this is a very, very smart. Like I'm actually impressed, and I say this not to gas them up, but they are a very, very, very smart person. Actually taught me a lot. Actually, some things that I didn't know, and so as they went to this prestigious high school that was far away from home, the thought was always they were going to focus in engineering, computer, some type of STEM program. So that's kind of where it was like, okay, STEM. I was really excited. I was like, okay, I got my son step one complete. You don't got a criminal record, you don't got no kids, and you have successfully graduated with some common sense and some and an intellectual ability to be able to effectively communicate. So this young family member of mine graduated very sharp, graduated from this prestigious high school, and now same age as my son. They're getting ready to go off to college. And so, with that, parents talk like, hey, what is your kid majoring in? What is your kid majoring in? And so the thought was always that it was engineering. That was always kind of the direction. But somehow their interest changed from engineering. And so I was having a conversation with my family member, the mother of this very bright child, and we were talking about school and cost and so forth. And when they told me where their child was going to school, I was like, because I got a son to go to school. I'm pretty up to speed on the colleges, but not all of them. And I was like, I never heard of that school before. So of course, my next question is, well, what's the major that they're majoring in? And it was theater technology. And so my immediate reaction was, wait, 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 wait. And if you watch this channel, y'all know how I feel about what majors people should focus on, but we'll get to that point. I was like, what the hell is theater technology? Then my next question was, and why isn't it engineering? What happened? Why did we change this trajectory? So I had no clue what the hell theater technology was, so I had to look it up. I'm not even gonna put it on the screen. I'm just gonna read it. And I didn't even know this was a thing. All right. As a graduate of theater and entertainment technology program, you'll be qualified to fill entry level backstage positions in the entertainment industry. Start your career as an assistant designer or a crew member of a theater house, theatrical touring company, a Las Vegas style show, or theme park or cruise ship production. Now, yeah, if y'all been watching this channel for a while, y'all already know how I feel. Immediately, I'm like, why the hell? Why the hell did the major change to this? What is it? Then I looked it up, and I was like, well, why the hell did the major change to this? And the parent told me, well, this child kind of changed their trajectory. They're like junior and senior year in high school. And I'm like, cool. I was like, now my initial response was, we need to, because it's somebody I care about, I look at it collectively as together. So my response was, we need to get back to engineering. We need to figure out a way to get our major back to engineering. We could double major, do engineering major in theater technology, or we could do an engineering major or minor in theater technology. But we have to figure out how we're going to get back to this major. This is just ridiculous. I don't understand it. And so, as I was having this conversation, I'm telling Mrs. DFD and my son, about the conversation because they right there, they can hear everything. And they proceed to tell me, you can't tell someone what they should or should not major in. And I said, to hell, I can't. And it's not a thing of, I don't know, it's not a thing of trying to shoot down a person's dreams. It's just a thing of probability versus possibility. And I just look at the statistics and the metrics. And so, my wife and son was like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. You can't tell somebody what they should change their major to. And I'm like, no, actually, I can. Their parents is the one who initiated the conversation. Since they initiated the conversation, we're going to talk about it. So I looked up the school. I was confused how the major changed from engineering, which is right up. That's on the lines of something like, okay, engineering. We can sign off on that one. To theater technology. I don't know what it is, but I just read it to you. Essentially, production, working backstage, lighting, sound, props, all of those type of things. Then I looked up this specific university because my next thing was, well, what type of university is this and what is the cost? And it's an interesting university because it's a school for the arts. So you can't go there to major in like biology and then do also a double major in one of these artsy type of degree programs. It's like kind of how Juilliard is structured. You go to Juilliard, you're not majoring in math or engineering. I know because my daughter dances, so she knows people at Juilliard. She sings performances at Juilliard. Like, but they have a program that's strictly focused on the arts. So this school that this young person in my family decided to attend, they turned from the engineering focus to theater technology focus at a private institution in a school that only focuses on the art. So they don't even have the ability to maybe like major in business and then do the minor in theater technology or something like that. So I'm just getting more and more frustrated as I look into it. So the next thing I decide, now keep in mind, this isn't my child, but this is a family member, been over my house gazillions of times. I love them. I love the young people in my family. I love the young people in my family more than I love the old people because they kind of get on my nerves sometimes. So the next thing I did, now that I know what theater technology is, now that I know that this is a school of the arts, so you can't get any like traditional degree in like math or criminal justice or poli sci, those type of things. Then I looked at the cost of this school. The total cost of this school, I'm not going to even pull all this stuff up. The total cost is $78,180. The net price is the average cost of the university after aid and scholarship funds are discounted from the total cost, which comes to $50,293 for the average student receiving need-based aid. So the tuition for this school is almost $80,000 a year. Let's just round it up. $80,000 a year. You're going to get about $30,000 in scholarships and grants and loans. And the out of pocket cost is for the average student is $50,000. So now let's just put this into context. They switched from engineering to theater technology. It's at a private school, which is going to be higher. It's at a private school that's out of state. So now you're talking about room and board or wrapped up into those numbers we just talked about. It's a art school where you can't have a traditional type of university major like criminal justice or biology or nursing or something like that. And to top it off, after aid, the average student is paying $50,000 a year. Okay. Now, hey, I don't pocket watch people. Like, some people may have $50,000 a year. I can't do it. Your boy can't do it. We doing all right over here at the household of the debt free dad. We doing okay. We just leave it at that. And so, in talking to the parent, the cost is something that they're gonna have to probably get loans for or do something drastic. So, uh, I'm assuming it's going to be student loans. So now you have potentially, let's say on the low side, let's say $30,000 a year. 30, 60, 90, 120, $120,000 a year for 4 years at a private institution for a theater technology degree. So, of course, the next thing I was looking at, well, what is the average salary of somebody who has a theater technology degree? Because I literally had no clue what the hell it was. My point exactly. I think it's crazy. I think that is absolutely. I literally didn't want to, because I don't want to belittle anything, but I'm like, yo, you paying almost $80,000 to be a stagehand? Like, maybe this is just me, and I don't know. I'm not a Hollywood guy, but I feel like that's something that you can really get into for free. Like, like really, you could literally volunteer. I feel like and work your way into stage production, starting out at lower levels and working your way up. But hey, I agree with that comment. 78,000. Let me read this comment. $78,000 to run lights and set up stage props. What is the average salary? The skill doesn't even transfer to other areas. Stay in this young person's ear about this. I appreciate you saying that because that's kind of the position I took. But I did get some people who, like I said, told me like, "Yo, you can't like no, this is a big deal. It's serious. It's a serious matter, and I don't think that this young family member who I love dearly has someone in their ear who can explain it to them in a way where it doesn't seem like they're snatching the life out of what their dreams, goals, or aspirations are. And I'm gonna just be honest, I don't honestly think they know. I know I was the person who was the first person in my house to go to a college, so I didn't have nobody to talk to about the admissions process. I just knew like, oh, I'm gonna go, and the only way I gotta go is by paying these loans. So let me go ahead and pay these loans. I think it's one of those type of situations which is scary. But that's a good point you brought up. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull up the salary because that was the next thing I thought of. $78,000. Let's take a look at what the average salary is. Okay, the average theater tech salary in the area that we're in right now is $47,394 as of June 27th, 2024. But the salary range typically falls between $40,730 to $52,707. Salary ranges can vary widely depending on many factors: education, certification, skills, number of years in the business, blah, 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 blah. So we're talking about, again, we're going to be conservative. $30,000. Let's say after grants and everything, $30,000 a year. They say the average is 50,000 after grants and aid and all of that stuff. But let's say 30,000. We ain't even gonna use the 50 that the school puts out there. $30,000 a year times four, $120,000. Then when you graduate, you're making a salary of about $42,000 in one of the cities that's the most expensive city you can live in the nation. And let's just be honest, if you're gonna squeeze a degree like theater technology and squeeze it out for everything that is worth, you're probably going to have to be in a high cost area. New York, California, the lowest area you probably could go in to make it work would be somewhere like Georgia and Atlanta or something to the effect. And trust me, I know the cost associated with that type of business because this is what my daughter does. She models, she dance. She's going to be going to California soon. Then after California, she got to leave from California. Then she's going to be traveling to New York. But those type of degrees, to even get in a position where you can make a large amount of money and have the large, just put yourself in a position to have the best opportunity, you got to be in a high ass cost area. And so that salary was based on Washington D.C. I don't know what it is in Los Angeles or somewhere else, but that shit can't be a livable wage. Let me see. Okay, and a theater tech in Los Angeles, if they put themselves in a prime position where they can kind of try to squeeze the most out of this job, is as of June 27th, the salary range is $53,463 to $68,992. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that that salary with the amount of obligation. We went light. We went with 30,000 a year. They said on average families have to contribute find $50,000, and if you ain't got $50,000, $50,000 worth of loan, you're talking $200,000 to graduate and live in California, DC, New York, and make 55 to 60, $70,000. That's not going to be enough to pay that shit back. I'm gonna just be honest, it's not going to be enough. Uh, that's actually a good idea, and we got some time to do it. And that's what I was thinking about doing. Because I know my even at the lowest level, because like I mean, hey, I'm a dance dad, so one of the duties of dance dads is to move the props and build the props and help get the props on and off stage between dances. And like, yeah, like it might be good to see how what's the old saying? Sometimes you don't want to see how the sausage is actually made, but this might be a good example or good opportunity to do that. But I agree with that comment. Set up a shadowing day with a stage technologist so they can see the real deal. And they got a bunch of theaters around here. And I mean, if you want to just volunteer to do it for a summer, I don't think anybody is going to turn you down. I just think that that's a tough opportunity. I'm gonna be honest. I, I looked into all of this after the conversation because I was like, how was it such a strong pivot? Like that was an extreme pivot from engineering to theater technology, right? Or is that just me? And I'm not opposed to somebody wanting to do something they're passionate about, but I think it should be done in a way to where you're putting yourself in the best possible position to succeed. That could be instead of 4 years, you're going to college for 5 years and you're taking a double major in an art type of education, but you're also taking a major in something that's a little bit more tangible. So I actually went online to the school. I looked at the programs. Again, it's an art college. So in the art college, they don't got the sciences and the maths. They had two majors that I looked at and I said, you know what? Maybe three. But it was two majors. Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in too. Thanks everybody for tuning in. But it was two majors on the entire list of majors that I looked at, and I said, okay, I gotta have a backup plan. Cause my first plan is, yo, you gotta get back on this engineering track, right? Like, yo, hey, I'm trying to make sure you good. I know people always want to do what they love, but one thing you would really love is being able to have one job as an adult that can take care of yourself and your family, and you can have a little bit of excess. Trust me, I've been at the alternative working two or three jobs. You got to do what you got to do, but the shit is hard. You know what I mean? And I want the younger generation, the next generation in my family to kind of avoid that. But the three majors that I saw at this art school that were actually kind of transferable, it was three majors. One was journalism, one was a business track, and the third one was communications. And I had an interesting conversation as I was talking to a friend about it who's an attorney. And they said, oh, I went to an art school and majored in journalism. And it was a school just like that. And they were able to transition it to law school. And I was like, oh, I can see how journalism is about getting facts and reporting facts. So, one, you have that ability to be a good, to orate very well, speak very well. You have the ability to get facts, analyze facts, present facts. I could write preferably. I could see how those things kind of mirrored up. So I don't know. I think that's just a conversation to have, but I think it's more important to have the conversation with the young person in my family as opposed to their parents. And again, is no knock on their parents, but I can I can imagine somebody trying to have that conversation with my mother and father who weren't college attendees. They never thought about it, never took an SAT. They that just wasn't what they did when they graduated high school. They went straight into the workforce. So I think it's a better conversation to have. I mean, I already had the conversation with the parent, but I think some guidance from somebody who actually been to college for a long ass time out in that space, who can who hey, we had $239,000 worth of student loan debt as of the beginning of 2021. Now we got $32,000. I don't want them to have to go through that. And we were lucky. We were able to take care of it relatively fast because we make a big hole, big shovel type of thing. We had a big hole to fill, but we had a sizable shovel, so we were able to kind of balance things out. But I don't know. I'm getting mixed reviews because I didn't think it was anything to say that would be offensive, but apparently I was told that it could be offensive, or maybe the way that I present it is offensive. But I'm gonna just be honest. Let's take a backtrack here, right? I feel like there sometimes we hold that tongue too much. Sometimes you got to just tell people the truth. And the truth is every year they have a list of the top 10 or 15 undergraduate degrees that have the best return on investment from salary. And we historically like clockwork. I can only speak for my community, the African American community historically avoids picking those majors. I don't know why they historically avoid it. And you know how I know they historically avoid it? Because I looked at the data. I actually got a show I want to do on wealth based on nationality. And everybody was like, "Oh, nationalities. You're looking at African Americans, Indian Americans, Asian Americans, Caucasians," and everybody was like, "Oh man, I wonder." Like everybody, like, "Oh man, the Caucasians probably winning out here." No, it's Indian Americans have the highest overall wealth percentage of any nationality in America. And that made me think, why the hell is that? And when I looked into it, it was some factors that were really important. I'm not going to go into all of them because that's another video. But at an 80% clip, when Indian Americans attend a college at an 80% clip, they select the major in science, technology, engineering, or math. 80% of the time, that's what Indian Americans select. Indians who are here first generation, second generation, 80% of the clip when they go to college, it's a STEM major. The next highest group was like 30%, then 15%, then 20%. Shout out to my guy, BTB, before the billions. Hey, we talking about all this smart engineering stuff and how I'm trying to help somebody out. And he the plan. Everybody on here, hey, y'all make sure y'all check out AA Legal Focus. Great channel that provides some in-depth analysis on interesting cases and has some very good guests on to talk about those cases. And my guy before the billion, he got a series he's doing right now as someone who is in the tech industry. He's working his way through, job loss. And your boy understand that because I had a period where I lost a job and I had to work my way through that. So I definitely understand it. Y'all make sure to check out both of their content. It's great content. Yeah. It's crazy how competitive things are in my part of town because the Indian Americans are so competitive. My kid could never win a spelling bee. It couldn't even get on the math team. God, that's yeah. It's crazy, but they come over here and have a hustle spirit. Everything isn't black and white. When I looked at those stats, the first thing I saw, I was like, damn, why are Indian Americans the wealthiest nationality in America? What do they do right? And it was one, they always choose at an 80% clip, they choose STEM. Another one was they have the lowest divorce rate of any nationality in the United States. It was something crazy like 6%, which is wow. 6%, like that's wow. The divorce rate for everybody else is like 50, 45, 52. It was like 6 to 10%. Another thing that they did that got them at the top of the list was they allowed it the age that their children move out of the home was older than every other nationality. Every other nationality is 18, 20. Indian Americans, Indians who are here in America, their children stay with them on average to 25 to 26 years old. So it provides them with more stability. So, I don't know. I think this is I had the conversation. I had the conversation with the parent of this young family member, but again, if you aren't a person who had the college experience, you dealt with the student loan experience, you know how much of a grind it was to get out. A lot of people I went to law school with, like I'm extremely, extremely, extremely blessed. Because a lot of people I went to law school with, man, it's hard to come by a 9 to 5 that you can get that gives you benefits and pay you a livable wage. That shit is not easy and it's very rare. People think, oh, you're an attorney, it'll be okay. That's not normally the norm. You know what I mean? So it's kind of tough. It's definitely kind of tough. They do. Speaking in general terms, hustle like crazy and work hard. They don't tend to major in basket weaving degrees. Hey, underwater basket weaving degrees. We can't support them, and that's the other thing too. Like I've never explained. Every time I explain my philosophy on education to someone, everybody across the board said that they agree. But I know for a fact if I would have chose a major in underwater basket weaving, my parents wouldn't have questioned it. They just been like, "Oh, he doing what he do. He want to go to college to major in that. Let him. It's no big deal because it wasn't like they were flipping the bill." So my parents would have had no issue with it. But I think it's a fair position to say if you want to get my help financially, it comes with strings. One of those strings are we're going to a school that we can afford. And my son went down this road. My son wanted to go to a damn school. There was a private school that cost $60,000 a year. And I said, I like, so we got like the school he's attending, state school. We got this private school he's attending. There was 60 racks a year. We're talking about it's probably damn near 2 times more. Yeah, it's probably a 2 times more difference. So I'm like, literally, you talk about maybe 30,000 a year before grants and scholarships and stuff versus 60,000 a year. He, of course, wanted to go to the 60,000 a year. And he was like, they gave me $20,000. I was like, who cares? It still doesn't balance out because of the overall cost. It took drilling it. I mean, like, and then after a while, I was like, okay, well, that's fine. You can go wherever you want to, but I don't supplement stupidity. And I'm not saying you're stupid, but this decision is not looking the wisest. So if you want to go there, that's fine. You just got to figure out how you're going to pay for it because I'm not going to supplement a bad financial decision. The whole point is so you graduate without owing anybody money. So when you get your first job and your first check, you can actually enjoy that money outside of what you got to pay Uncle Sam and all those other folks. And it took a while, but eventually he was like, you know what? You're right. He came around. So one, we're going to a school you can afford. If you want my help, you gotta, hey, if it's a school we can't afford, you gotta pay for it on your own. Figure it out. Go do what I did. Go be all you can be. Two, hey, it's certain majors I'm paying for, certain ones I'm not. I'm not paying for an underwater basket weaving degree. My son loves music. He took guitar lessons. He performs raps. I'm like, yo, you can do all the rapping and all that shit that you want. That's cool. I'm not gonna stomp on your dream if you want to do that. But over here, we gotta focus. Now you can double major and something that meets the standard to get my economic support and music, or you could do a minor in music, but you got to have that one major that's a legitimate major that's going to fall in that top 10 or 15 category. Which of those majors are you most interested in? It's very few rules. And the last rule is I have my own GPA requirement to continue to get the scholarship of dad. That's just what it is. You want to get the scholarship of Mr. and Mrs. DFD, there are certain requirements you have to make GPA wise. And that requirements are probably a little bit higher, but they aren't unreasonable. Those are the three things. But it's just crazy because I just don't want to see I don't want to see this person put themselves in a hole that they can't get out of if it could be avoided. Again, I don't want them to change their major. I just want them to look at another option on how they can do what they want to do, but do something else that may be a little bit more tangible in the economic marketplace. Indians are careful about feelings. Get a degree that pays, especially if you are the first generation college student. Do your passion on the weekend. I agree with that 100%. You know, a lot of times you hear people say, "Oh, education isn't a big deal. Education isn't a big deal. You can get a certificate, you can go on." And I agree. Education, you can go get certified as a mechanic or HVAC. I get it. All of those are good careers, but I do think that there is some benefit to a traditional formal college education if you select the right major. Is without a shadow of doubt in my mind the number one factor in increasing the income from generation one to generation two is education. Now, when you go from generation two to generation three, I think that gap shrinks tremendously. But that very first generation, if you got generation one, which would be my parents who had a high school diploma, the biggest thing that you could do to increase that wage gap, make more money than that first generation, especially during the times when I was growing up, was to get that college degree. I probably, without actually talking about the numbers, and the old school folks on the channel probably have a clue, but I probably make 8 or 9 times the income that my mother made, probably 4 or 5 times the income that my father brought in at like his peak career. Is without a shadow of a doubt the biggest financial leap that you can take from one generation to next is to get an education in something. But I think there's some valuable value in getting an education in a formal college education if it's done under the right circumstances. State school, low debt, good major. So I definitely do agree with that. Do your passions on the weekend. I agree with that. I agree. Hobbies don't pay the bills. Yeah, hobbies do not pay the bills. I agree. Sometimes you might get lucky too, and your hobby might turn around. And sometimes you might get lucky. Your hobby might turn around and be lucrative. Most private schools are ripoffs. I agree too. A lot of those private schools. I used to work at the Department of Education, Office of Inspector General, and those private schools they have a like a split. Like, here's one thing I would see a lot, right? I can just talk about it in my experience. No, not naming those schools in particular, right? But in order for private schools to get continued federal funding, they have to get a certain percentage of their funding from outside sources. And the reason this rule was invented because when the feds looked at private institutions, they looked and said, "Damn, these private schools are essentially for profit, and they're getting 90% of their funding from the federal government. That's crazy." And so what they came up with was a rule that says if you want to get federal dollars, 40%, for example, of your funding has to come from a non-federal source. And then if you meet that requirement, the federal government will give you funding to supplement and cover the other 60%. But I agree. I think that private schools, if you can avoid them unless you got a free ride or they paying 80 or 90% of it or something, or you a hell of an athlete or something to that effect. I don't supplement stupidity. Can't do it. I can't do it. I just see so many videos and so many people who they took out parent plus loans, then the kid don't graduate, and the kid not paying the loan back. Now the parent stuck with a loan they can't afford. Like I'm not doing that. Like if I couldn't cash flow it, I'll go ahead get my Instacart credit card and I just start driving Instacart on the weekend to make an extra, 400 or 500 bucks every couple of weeks. I do anything as opposed to get a loan for my son to have to go to school, and I'm trying to do everything possible so he can avoid it as long as he making good choices. The private school he was interested in, what was the name of that private school? It was like a whack ass private school too. It wasn't like a private school. Hold on, I'm about to let me see. I can't think of it. It was a terrible fucking private school. I looked and that private school was like $1,000 less than Duke. And I was like, fuck no. I was like, fuck no, I'm not paying for this. $1,000 less than Duke, you might be crazy. Let me see.
Hello?
Yo,
Yo.
question. What was that overly priced private school that you wanted to go to and you was being hard headed about for a little bit? What was it?
Well, firstly, it was Stevenson, and I wasn't that hard headed about it. A bowling alley changed my mind.
All right, man. I gotta get off. I'm on the live. That's funny.
I figured, all right.
All right, later. The private school he was looking at, that my son was looking at, there was 60 racks, was Stevenson. $60,000. I was like, this is crazy. Hold up. Give me 1 second. I got to struggle through. All right. We back. We back. Yeah, it was Stevenson University. It's a school in Maryland, past Baltimore, and that damn school was $60,000. And I was like, come on, B, we not doing $60,000. Like I said, cooler heads prevailed, but he was stuck on it for a while. It was pretty terrible. Education is very important, but people also need to know the dangers of taking on too much student loan debt. For-profit rip-off schools, yeah. The general rule is, and I get it. Sometimes, as I started this channel and I went through and I was paying off all my debts and my financial beliefs evolved. At first, I was like, you know what? You could certain things I don't think you can cash flow. Like I know a lot of people be like, oh, your first house, you should put 20% down. I think that's unrealistic. Your first house, get something you can afford, 3 to 5% down, get in there to get in the game. Now, your second house, maybe you want to probably put 20% down. But one of the things, when you talk about, schools being rip-offs and the danger of taking too much debt, the general rule, because sometimes to get what you want, you're going to have to make a sacrifice and a risk, okay? But the general rule, I think, is a good rule of thumb. If you're going to take on student loan debt, let me get my cup out the picture. If you're going to take on student loan debt, the amount of debt you take to get that degree should not be more than what the average salary would be for that degree in the state that you live in. So, the theater technology degree we're looking at, the average salary was 40. Let's say the average salary was 50 to $60,000. If the average salary is 50 to $60,000 over a 4 year period, the amount of total loans that you should get should be 50 or $60,000. That's a general good rule. Again, I'm not advocating that people should get student loans, but if you have to, I think that's a good rule to follow to make sure you just don't over leverage yourself with something that you can never ever pay off. In my personal opinion, I wish I had more info before going to school. And school should charge more than average wage per year for the maid. I agree. And school is crazy too. Like if you look at the cost that tuitions have went up over like the past 10 years, it's something crazy like 200 and something percent, where like wages only go up like 2% a year. Is yeah. Like it's crazy. Like I tell y'all, I probably got about, when it's all said and done, my son will probably have, let's see, 30, 24. He got, barring any unforeseen circumstances, he'll have about $50,000 to get an education with. You can get a fucking undergraduate degree for less than $50,000. That's just what it is. I got about 30 stashed away now. I got about 30 stashed away now. And then normally I do, let's say, 5,000 a year over the next 4 years. 5, 10, 15, 20. That's 20,000. So $50,000 is about what he'll have. And my expectation for him, and I told him, like, I expect to pay less out of pocket every year for school. You know what that means? That means that you should have good grades, and that means that you should be getting more scholarships or grants each year that you're in school if you're taking care of business. Seriously, I gotten involved in cases where family members got sued for loans they co-signed on. That's a damn shame. And you want to talk about like you want to talk about like ruining a relationship? Like that's like I remember once like when I was broke as hell and I graduated law school and I had like I'm married. I got like a my son was a little guy. He maybe was like 2. He was 6. He was like 3 at the time. And I'm like, man, I got to study for the bar. I don't want to get a job immediately. So I took out, they'll let you get what's called a bar loan. And I know y'all attorneys out there know about a bar loan. I got a bar loan for, it was something, I mean, it wasn't light to, it was light in hindsight, but it was like maybe $6 or $8,000. It was just enough to float my living expenses until I took the bar, but I wanted to just focus that time on studying. And I was broke as hell. So they was like, "Oh, we're not gonna give it to you. You had to like co-sign for it." And I was like, "I can't go to my parents to co-sign for it because their credit wasn't it." So I went to my wealthy aunt. I don't know if y'all remember. I did a video where I said I talked to the first millionaire in my family. I know the first millionaire that I know that's a confirmed millionaire in my family. This is the aunt. And they saw it, they was like, they probably could have been like, hey, take the 8 racks. But they like, I don't want to take it from them. I was like, yo, just if you can co-sign for me, then I'll do it. So I co-sign, they co-sign for me. And I passed the bar. I get a job as a public defender. I'm making like $40,000, which isn't a lot of money, but I'm very proud of this job that I got. Now, I'm making my payments on this thing, and I think over like I don't know. I think I paid it off in like 2 years or something. But at one point, I would never put when you broke as hell. You never put your bills on auto pay. I was like, I ain't putting my bills on auto pay. I'm just gonna remember to pay everything. And so I forgot to pay it. And the minute I forgot to pay it, it was maybe like a week. They didn't send me a notice, but they sent my aunt a notice. Man, my aunt called me so fast. Was like, "Hey, now." I was like, "Oh, my bad." So I made sure to prioritize that and pay that off because she was kind of hot. So I could see how people could get into lawsuits about loans and all of that type of stuff. That's funny. I sense your emotions. Yeah. I never heard of Stevenson. It's a good thing that you never heard of Stevenson because Stevenson is a terrible school. No, you got that right. That school isn't worth close to Duke tuition. University of Maryland is much better. They got University of Maryland, Baltimore County, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. It's so many other schools. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I could. I may need to readjust. Let's see. Stevenson University. I'm gonna see. Let's see if they got an overall rating for this school. Let's see if they got a rating with the students. Rated. Let's see what the students say about it. This is all cap. This is all cap. The first thing I put in, it says for the fifth year in a row, Stevenson University has been named among the nation's best value schools. This can't be the same fucking Stevenson I'm talking about. Now, hold up. Nah, that's cap. Nah, the students complaining. Now that I see some of the reviews, the students complaining. But yeah, it was $60,000. And I was like, bro, I'm not paying for you to go to a school that costs $1,000 more than Duke, and it's not even Duke. At least if you go to Duke, at least like okay, there's some private schools where if you wanted to take out $60,000 loan to go to Duke, and you know you're gonna graduate, at least I'm gonna be like, hey, you went to Duke. Like some schools, the name actually has some type of value, some type of tangible value. I know I was actually gonna transfer to Duke after my first year at law school. After my first year at law school, I specifically busted my ass to finish in like the top 10% because I was gonna transfer to Duke. I was like, I'm out. I'm good. Duke wasn't a I personally don't think Duke is a better school. I've worked with people at even now, the job I'm at now, ain't nobody there from the law school that I went from. They all like from Harvard and they kind of arrogant, but I get it, but I'm arrogant too. So, it's all it's all fair game on this arrogance level. But I don't know. I was gonna transfer there because I knew that the name of Duke University would probably give me a little bit of weight if I wanted to stay in the legal market, especially in the state of North Carolina. But that went away quick. As soon as I got a full tuition scholarship, I was like, you know what? I got a full tuition scholarship. Hey, now all I got to worry about is the room and board. So that's why I respectfully declined Duke, and I got that without even applying for it. They just gave it to me because they had some extra money, and they were impressed. A young brother from the PJs was able to hold it down like that. But yeah, so I just wanted to get on here and just talk about you know what's going on with this young person in my family, and I personally think it's paramount that I have a conversation with him. I already reached out to him, and I normally like to get the kids who are the same age, especially all the cousins who getting ready to go to college. Because once they go to college, they're not gonna really see each other like that. So I normally like to get them together and be like, "Yo," and take them out somewhere so they can just kind of enjoy themselves. Most times I just drop them off, or I drop them off. I'd be like, "Y'all go do what y'all gonna do. I'm gonna go sit at this restaurant, get something to eat, or something like that." But I am gonna have a conversation. I just want them to know that they have other options. You can do that exact same major, but you can do it in a way to where you still have a major, something that you're focusing some educational energy on that's a little bit more tangible in the economic market. So that's kind of what I think. The approach is going to be. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it in a way. I know how to talk to children and young people. I don't know how to talk to people my age. I don't know how to talk to like adults because adults I ain't got the patience for. But a young person, no, I'm not gonna step on a young person's dream because I know I was a young person before and I had my dream stepped on. I was like, I think I want to go to law school, and everybody bust out laughing. I was like, damn, why y'all laughing? We supposed to be related, aren't we? So I definitely don't want to be that person to get his dreams, step on somebody's dreams because I had my dreams stepped on before by family members, and it wasn't a cool feeling. I remember that shit too. I was like, all right, I'm gonna show them, but everybody can't use that as motivation. So I definitely don't want to be the one to communicate it in a way that makes it seem like I'm picking at what their choice was. Like, yo, you can do what you want to do, but you can also do something that'll make sure you got a really soft landing ground. You got a good plan. If plan A is the art stuff, your backup plan should be something that's very tangible and vice versa. If plan A was engineering, your backup plan could be something that you really, really enjoy doing that may not be as lucrative. Ancient American history. I would actually take a college course in not ancient American history, ancient world history, ancient civilizations, cultures. I find that interesting. But I don't know. I've never seen a black archaeologist. So I wouldn't necessarily choose that. I wouldn't necessarily choose that as a major, but I would do it as a minor or double major. In a perfect world, I would love to be an archaeologist and just finding ancient artifacts and learning about ancient cultures and civilizations. But man, please, I watch the History Channel. I ain't never see a black person on the History Channel talk about ancient Mayan history. So I was like, you know what? Let me cover my bases and see what this law thing talking about. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with saving money, going to community college, and then transferring. I think that's a good. I think that's a good thing too. But I think sometimes I think that's actually the smartest route. Go to a community college and transfer. But I think a lot of time, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. This is just kind of what I see. A lot of times in our community, in the black community, I think people want to go away or get away from their environment. Not saying they not living in like a war torn country like Mogadishu or something, but yo, if some neighborhoods is real out here, it's real out here. Some neighborhoods is real, and a lot of people just want to get away, and everybody don't want to run to the military. Everybody aren't built for the military, so I think a lot of people in that community use school as a way to like, yo, my home situation is a little toxic and chaotic. I want to get away. Or the neighborhood I'm in, if I stay here, something going to end terribly bad. I want to get away. So I do think the community college way is a good route to go. But I also think that depending on the environment that someone grows up in, going away to college, even if it's 45 minutes, an hour away, that's all I went. And I went to one of the hardest cities ever. I went to undergrad in Baltimore. It was rough out there on the west side of Baltimore, but it was different from the environment that I was in. There was a lot of people in my neighborhood who I knew some people who was doing great shit, and I knew some people who was doing fuck shit, like doing street stuff. So it provided me. It was good for me to get away and meet people who was like, "Oh man, I actually got a lot of goals that are outside of the norm of what you're wanting to hear." So I think the community service route is good, but sometimes people want to go to college to get the education, but also is to get a fresh start, to get away from an environment that they may not be comfortable in. It may be toxic or conducive. So that's something we also got to kind of think about and put in the back of our mind. But yo, that's it for this video. Hey, I appreciate everybody who tuned in, who commented, who interacted. Hey, I always appreciate y'all. Great. If you got some type of value out of this, like, subscribe, comment. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button twice. Hit the thumbs down twice. Make sure that happened. My baby graduated from Morgan. I tried my best not to ride through the city to visit her. That's hilarious. That's cool, Morgan. See, I'm a Coppin State guy, so Morgan was our rival, but I won't hold that against. I'm not gonna hold that against nobody. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's funny. My mother was like, "You gonna go up there and visit him?" My son like 2 hours and 45 minutes away. I was like, "Fuck no, I'm not going up. Why I gotta go up there to visit him? He can come to visit me." I was like, "He could come to visit me. They got a bus he could catch for $20 that'll drive him right back to the city." But I was like, "Nah, man, I'm not going up there." I said, "How many times did you come to visit me?" My mother was like, "I came up there to visit you like twice." I was like, "Yeah." That's because I needed some stuff from the store. But outside of that, I was like, I kind of like it's gonna be sad, but I get it, man. When your kids go away, I don't care if it's a son or a daughter, you always gonna feel some type of way. You always gonna worry about them. At the end of the day, the name of the game is you want to make sure the people coming behind you and your family, friends, and your circle, hell, strangers, you want to make sure people coming behind you got the best information to make an informed decision so they can avoid the pitfalls that we had. That's just kind of what the name of the game is. That's called love. That's called giving back in my book. And sometimes to do that, it may come off harsh. And sometimes things could come off harsh being from a real place of love. So, everybody may not understand that at the moment, but I've had situations where people came back years later and was like, "Yo, that thing you said, even though that shit pissed me off when you said it, but in hindsight, when I think about it, yo, I appreciate you saying that. It really made a difference. So it made me think." I've went back and told people that same thing. So that's just kind of what it is. Everybody have a good evening. Y'all take care. Be blessed. Be safe out here. Peace. Love y'all.